Warum bist du überhaupt hier?
Ich spreche so, dass ich in den Wald rein bin. Ich trag die Idioten noch so lang, bis es lebt wird. So blöde Leute. Für uns geht's kein Zurück. Sie in alle Ewigkeit.
Sag mir den Namen.
Ich, der Judas, und der Nero, der Kain und der Hitler. Fünf immer.
Das ist der sechste.
Und aber genug.
Den habt ihr dazu.
It began with a scream, not from a horror film but from a real girl in a quiet German town. A girl whose prayers turned into cries for help, whose faith collided with fear and whose torments would shake the church, the courts, and the world. Before the tapes, before the trial, and before the priests and the exorcisms, there was just Anneliese Michel, young, devout, and suddenly haunted by something no one could explain. She saw faces in the walls, heard voices when no one else was near, and night after night something or someone kept her from sleep. Was it illness or evil? They said she was sick, but what she experienced could not be cured by medicine. They said it was all in her mind, but what she heard, felt, far more real than any hallucination. A girl once full of light was now consumed by shadows. Welcome to Secrets of the Past. To understand how fear, faith, and unknown collided in one of the most chilling real-life cases of possession, we must go back to where it all began. Anneliese Michel was born on September 21, 1952, in Leibelfing, Bavaria, West Germany. She grew up in a devout Roman Catholic family surrounded by faith, tradition, and strict discipline. Her upbringing was quiet, simple, and deeply religious. By all accounts, Anneliese was a bright, kind, and pious girl. She prayed daily, went to church regularly, and even expressed interest in becoming a teacher. But something changed when she turned 16. In 1968, Anneliese suffered her first seizure. She collapsed unexpectedly at school and was later diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy, a disorder that affects memory, perception, and emotion. It can also cause intense religious hallucinations. Doctors prescribed her anti-seizure medication, and for a time it seemed manageable. Soon, however, her condition worsened. She began seeing terrifying images, demonic faces appearing in the walls, shadowy figures lurking in her room at night. She reported hearing voices condemning her as damned and possessed. Her sleep was broken by unseen forces, and she would fall into trance-like states, unable to move or speak. These episodes grew more frequent and more violent. What happened to Anneliese Michel is one of the most chilling and controversial cases in modern history. It's a story that straddles the line between medical science and spiritual warfare, between mental illness and demonic possession, and tonight we go deeper than ever before. By her early 20s, Anneliese's behavior had become deeply alarming. She destroyed religious icons in her home, refused to eat, and claimed to be cursed. She tore the clothes off her body, barked like a dog, and licked the floor until her tongue bled. She claimed that multiple demons had taken over her body, among them Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, Nero, and even Adolf Hitler. Her parents, Joseph and Anna Michel, watched helplessly as their daughter spiraled into something they no longer believed was medical. The family sought help from priests, pleading with the Catholic Church to intervene, but the Church was cautious. Exorcisms, especially by the 1970s, were rare and required strong evidence that no natural explanation could be found. After much deliberation and observation, 2 local priests Ernest Alt and Arnold Renz agreed to help. In 1975, the Bishop of Würzburg granted official permission to perform an exorcism using the ancient Roman ritual. The church, weary of publicity, insisted the sessions be kept secret. Over the next 10 months, Anneliese Michel underwent 67 exorcism sessions. They took place 1 to 2 times per week, often lasting up to 4 hours. Each session was grueling. She would scream for hours, growl in unnatural voices, speak in multiple languages, including Latin, a language she had never studied. She claimed to see the Virgin Mary and Jesus, but also demons crawling on the floor and hanging from the ceiling. Her physical condition deteriorated rapidly. She refused all food, believing starvation was part of her penance. Her knees were shattered from constant genuflection. She knelt down hundreds of times per day in prayer. She weighed just 68 pounds, yet she continued the rituals, convinced she was suffering not for herself, but for the sins of others. In her final recordings, her voice is unrecognizable. She roars, snarls, and speaks with a force far beyond her frail body. She would plead for help, then laugh menacingly. In one recording, she can be heard growling, "I am Lucifer, the ruler of this house." On June 30, 1976, during the final session, Anneliese reportedly told the priests, "Please, beg for absolution." That night, she went to bed for the last time. On the morning of July the 1st, she was found dead in her home. She had died of starvation and dehydration. Her body was bruised, broken, and weighed less than 70 pounds. Her parents and 2 priests were soon arrested and charged with negligent homicide. The trial, which began in 1978, became a national sensation in Germany and drew international media attention. Prosecutors argued that Anneliese should have been committed to a psychiatric hospital. They presented expert testimony from doctors who stated that she had severe epilepsy combined with psychosis and religious delusions. The defense presented the chilling audio tapes from the exorcism sessions.
Mona, weißt du ja, ne?
Ja,
Okay,
aber die wenigste beten.
die wenigsten.
Ja. Und die Kirche wird aber der wenigste. Weil jetzt Sache jetzt ist für unmodern.
Ja,
Ja,
alle,
fast. Ahnung. Ah. Warum?
ja, warum?
Ah. Weiter. Eines. Nein, nicht so.
Guck, was die zu reden.
Ah. Weil er eine starke ja.
In court, the jury listened as multiple demonic voices growled, taunted, and threatened, all coming from the mouth of a 23-year-old woman. The defense argued that her behavior could not be explained medically and that the exorcism had been conducted according to church guidelines. The trial lasted nearly a year. In the end, all 4 defendants, her parents, and both priests were found guilty of manslaughter resulting from negligence. However, the court acknowledged that the defendants acted out of sincere belief that they were helping her. Each was given a suspended sentence and 3 years probation. The case of Anneliese Michel became one of the most controversial exorcisms in modern history. The Catholic Church, embarrassed by the publicity, distanced itself from the case and tightened its requirements for future exorcisms. It never officially recognized Anneliese as possessed. Yet many in Germany and around the world saw her as a martyr. Her grave in Klingenberg became a site of pilgrimage. People left notes, candles, and rosaries. Some claimed to feel a presence at her grave, not malevolent, but peaceful. In 2005, the story was adapted into the Hollywood film The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which fictionalized the court case but revived interest in Anneliese's story. Since then, books, podcasts, documentaries, and YouTube videos have examined the case, trying to answer one impossible question. Was Anneliese Michel possessed? Or was she just a tragic victim of mental illness and religious extremism? Medical experts remain firm. Temporal lobe epilepsy and psychosis can explain her symptoms. The voices, the visions, the obsessive behavior, all textbook signs of a disorder that was poorly understood at the time. Had she been institutionalized, they argue, she might have survived. But others, including some theologians and priests, point to elements that defy explanation. Her ability to speak Latin, her unshakable belief in redemptive suffering, her supernatural strength despite her condition. These, they say, are not symptoms but signs. And in that space between science and faith, between the known and the unknown, Anneliese's story continues to haunt us. She believed she was chosen to suffer, that her pain had purpose, that her death was not a tragedy but a sacrifice. In the final days of her life, when asked why she wouldn't stop the exorcisms, she whispered, "I want to suffer for others so that they may be saved." Today, decades later, her name still echoes in church halls, psychiatric circles, horror films, and whispered prayers. Anneliese Michel remains a symbol of belief, of pain, of everything we fear and everything we cannot explain. Thank you for watching Secrets of the Past.